Yo, what's going on, people? Welcome to Wrestle Purist. I was going to say Wrestle Purist podcast then, but this is just our little Monday chill, whatever you want to call it. Joined with Joe Hulbert, Manny the Hooper, who is rocking it's completely no selling. I feel sorry for the people who only download this by audio. You know, there is a few psychopaths who do that, but
we should probably tell the people we had a lot of fun. We're a bit late, but Manny came on with the mask and he was like, "The sound is really muffled." And Monty and I were convinced it was just because he was wearing a mask. And Manny was consistent. Well, it wasn't the case, right, Manny? It was not the mask, but nonetheless, you are sporting the mask. Manny, how are you today, pal?
Tired.
Yeah.
Just got out of work like 30 minutes ago.
My God.
See,
still in my scrubs.
Yeah. What a talent, huh? What a workhorse.
It was quite ambitious with the 6 o'clock aim that we.
Yeah. Should we? What do you think, Manny? Does 6:05 is that more sustainable? Because if we can promote the show as being at 6:05, we could do some damage. You know, quarter hours, demos could be good. What do you think, Manny? Can you make 6:05 or should we go 6:15 moving forward? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, I usually don't work Mondays. I just told somebody. I just picked up a shift for somebody. They picked up a shift for me. I think for they covered my shift for All Out. So then they finally called in the favor and said, "Hey,
I think we should
my morning shift.
We should lock it in 6:05. We're taking shape. What's happening is, Monty, we're finding our way as we go. You know what I mean? We've got our time slot now. Last week, you and I clashed heads about who hosts. You pulled your creative control clause, which we want to get into here because we're on the hour. We're professional about it. You know, so now you're steering the ship. I'm riding a shotgun, but we're finding our way here on Haters, Hoopers, and Hulbert. You know what I mean, Monty?
Well, is that the name that you're going with? I don't know how I feel about it. No.
You know?
Don't know how I feel about being called a hater, you know.
Maybe you're the hooper. You never know. It depends on the topic, doesn't it? Sometimes Manny's a hater. Sometimes I'm a hater. I'm always Hulbert. That part seems to be pretty locked in.
Yeah.
But the rest of them are interchangeable, you know.
You know, I was hoping I can get my Bandido mask in, but it's still in transit because I was going to wear it today during the Bandido segment.
Well,
so
let's get into it.
This is a good way to set this up, actually, Monty.
Yeah, go.
If when that mask arrives, Bandido's vignette is airing on NXT TV, what do you do with the mask? Like, you burn it?
I'll burn it. I don't like the mask anyways.
that neatly brings us into our opening segment. Go ahead, Monty.
Yeah, so apparently WWE might be interested in Bandido, which obviously isn't a surprise to anyone who watched AEW Dynamite last week and saw his match with Chris Jericho. According to Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Live, WWE were asking for his number before the match even finished. So, you know, make of that what you will. Of course, AEW did reportedly offer Bandido a contract immediately after the match anyway, so we know that contract offer's there. But apparently WWE were trying to get in contact with him as well. So who knows? There's not been confirmation that he signed the AEW contract as of yet, but it's fair to say that a lot of people assume that he has. But yeah, like I said, the WWE interest is apparently there, according to Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Live. So yeah, obviously that's been a bit of discourse to start the day. And
Manny, how scared are you right now, pal?
Very scary, but at the same time, Monty reported the news like 5 days later after Alvarez said it.
Well, you know.
Jesus, man. We're on the air here. That was a little bit aggressive. Make a note, Monty. That's a fine.
No, it scared me. I was like, what the heck just happened? Like, did some more news happen? Then I read it and I was like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, it's the one from over there.
Am I the only one that thinks this story is like...
It's like nothing.
Completely fucking ridiculous. Why is Bandido apparently being treated by the big two as like this unknown entity? Like he sort of just appeared from the... Like he's been a very like... You know, like he's been an established professional wrestling player now for some time.
Well, WWE weren't looking in that direction for quite a while.
Right.
And then even with AEW, it was weird how long it took them to get him on TV. So obviously, as soon as AEW give him the national television exposure, WWE come knocking as well. So
WWE can't create their own stars. They wait for it. They waited for AEW to make Bandido a star on one night.
AEW PC.
I get why the take is like, fuck WWE, that's bullshit. And it's right. Like, they could have signed him the whole time, right? But at the same time, I don't really get the idea also that AEW had to see him in action before wanting to sign him. Like, yeah, you're good enough to main event against Chris Jericho, and we know exactly who you are, but we have to see it first before we give you this Like, just sign him beforehand, bro. It's Bandido. It weren't like he was going to go out there and, like, I don't know. It's kind of confusing to me. The funniest part of all of this is the chat's rightly mentioned he main evented All In. Forget that. He main evented Supercard, which Tony Khan fucking promoted. Like,
yeah, literally.
It's so strange. And I get for the audience, a lot of people met Bandido last Wednesday. I understand. What I'm saying is the idea that, like, in the industry, like, Triple H was watching, it's like, holy shit. Like, I don't know. It's a strange story. I think we all assume he's going to be an AEW guy, right? Feels like that's kind of.
Yeah. All the indications, like the way, like how Tony Khan hugged him, and he's the one that hugged Tony Khan, and Tony Khan just wrapped his legs around him, and then like,
Jesus, what vivid imagery that was, dramatic.
That went down, bro. It was.
I know. It's just I didn't expect him to go in that much detail. It's good shit. That's good stuff.
And then like Bandido doing that emotional like thank you stuff after the match. I was just like, yeah, this guy is signed, you know.
Yeah.
And I know, I remember, I think it was Supercard. It was Supercard Honor where he won the title before AEW, before Tony Khan owned Ring of Honor. He was also talking about, like, my own goal was AEW and all that. So,
yeah,
I think he finally got there.
I kind of think the real topic here is, like, and I understand why it's the case, because AEW signed a lot of wrestlers, so I get it. I kind of think it's going slightly under the radar how big a deal he could be if they got this right. Like, they've got a lot of guys that can give you good TV matches, and certainly at minimum, you can throw Bandido on a match graphic and get a banger out of it, and that's fine. I think with his look and his style, he could, like, actually be like a big deal for them and, like, tap into an audience they may not have. I genuinely believe this. Like, he's fucking cool. That look is so marketable, you know?
Yeah, he's just crazy charismatic, you know? Just that physical charisma. He's magnetic almost, you know?
Yeah.
Then obviously his matches as well. He's very, you know, like you said, there's good matches. Then there's, you know, people who go out there and you can tell that they're trying to steal the show every time. So he's got quite a lot of the tools there that they could get behind, definitely. But who knows? They don't really do pushes that much. So it would be... He would definitely be a great match guy there, like similar to like a Ray Phoenix or someone like that. At least at like the bare minimum, you know. Then obviously the ceiling, it's like, you know, he could be. Who knows, you know?
Yeah, it would have to be one of those cases where, like, he gets booked in enough matches, win or lose, where he gets like an organic connection. You know, people just kind of fuck with him because of how good the matches are. That ain't a traditional push, to your point, Monty. But you know what I'm saying, right? It would have to be kind of a thing where he just each week he wins over the live crowd. I just hope even when he does sign, he's out there like regularly, because that could be a problem. You know,
they'll do like one or two pushes at a time. So like at the moment, like Daniel Garcia is getting like an actual push. Do you know what I mean? Like he's on TV every week. He's got a proper story arc going on. He's winning matches, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Whereas like most other people, it's just like they're on TV like every other week. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of
Good question though, chat. I'm intrigued with the chat in this. Who's getting a push in AEW right now? Manny, what do you think? What names jump out? Like a kind of like classic wrestling push where they're clearly moving them up the card. I'm intrigued by this. It's an interesting topic.
Garcia.
Garcia.
I don't know about MJF. I feel like he's just the same.
He's kind of established right at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. Yuta went through one for a bit.
I was going to bring up Starks too. Shaitan Spurs brings him up. A couple people brought him up. Sorry, a couple people. You as you said, yeah.
Roosh.
Roosh, yeah. Starks is an interesting one because his win on TV last week was very much that of someone who's getting a push, right? Like he actually just got a squash win to keep him on TV.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see like one more step to that before I commit to it being a real push.
Jamie Hayter's someone said it in the chat, Demon Green. See, look, she needs to actually start winning and stuff first before you can call it push.
Watch Rampage, Monty, please. Rampage is pretty popular show on Friday. She got a big
she
win
won on Friday, but it's not been a string of things that have,
I hear Rampage is an A show. That's what I read. That match was actually damn
I'm not touching that.
Brother, that match was a blast though, wasn't it?
Yeah, they are usually fun. It's just in terms of like star power and stuff like that, it feels a bit like a glorified dark sometimes. So.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying that particular match.
Yeah, that was probably the best match on the show for me.
The one thing I do like, I'm not rushing to praise the AEW Women's Division after last week's segment. I'm going to just look, but I will say I do like that it appears that he's picked like a core that he's going to actually try and get on TV most weeks. Because while that is not a big thing, it was a big thing for him for a long. He would just rotate it, and you see one person once a month.
Yeah, it was a mixed bag.
I think there's a reason why he's doing that.
What do you think that is, Manny?
I don't know. I can see him trying to do something fucking like War Games or something like that.
Blood and guts, really?
Yeah, because it's weird because they added Penelope to Britt's whole group, and then like now like the weird.
I'm just forgetting that segment ever happened. To be honest,
the Penelope thing is very funny
because
she's just in the team.
That group that Tony walked out with was
the All Stars, bro. Here they come.
It was funny because no, never mind. I don't want to talk about it.
It was funny. It's not a knock on any of the booty, but it was funny. That group of people was funny.
Yeah, they're all sweet wrestlers, I'm sure.
And then Paige patting Tony Storm on the back, like, "Hey, look, this is your champ,
little bro." Yeah, it
was very much like I said. My comparison was like that segment when Stephanie introduced like the revolution, and like Naomi was on her own, and she was like, "Your friends are going to be Sasha and Tamina," or whatever the fuck. And it was like, why is she just like allocating teams like it's just like PE or something? It was like that, which is it's not ideal. But look,
bless her heart.
I don't want the key to it is I don't want to point the finger at Paige because
Saraya.
Oh well, Saraya. I don't want to point a finger at Saraya because while her delivery wasn't good, that segment was flawed conceptually. Like if she does that promo well, that segment is not good. She still introduced the baby faces that way. Do you know what I mean? Like, so
the only thing I liked about it was the initial idea of I want to do a big women's segment, but from there it's just
yeah.
I feel like Tony Khan was trying to like establish the women like we didn't know who any of them were. That's what it seemed like.
Well, it was one of those segments. Someone in our chat the other day mentioned Wardlow did something similar for the TNT title.
Sorry to interrupt. But yeah, someone mentioned Tony's getting a push. I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, I think so. I think Tony's usage. I know people got mad about Cole Pins, but I think she's most of them used well. Sometimes when like a booker criticism is getting thrown at them regularly, they'll make a baby face like the face of a movement to change that. So you know how Wardlow a few weeks ago or a couple months, whenever it was like, we're going to bring the TNT title back to prominence, Yeah. That's Tony's way of being like, can you just shut the fuck up about the TNT title? I'm trying my best here, That's what Saraya was intended to do for the women's division. I unfortunately did not quite have the effect intended. But, I agree with you. It was good they tried. It was good they wanted to do a big segment with the women. It was a shame it was very, very bad.
Yeah.
Games we play.
Re-established this title as serious. Sounds like another company from, yesteryear.
Yeah.
Went for a name change. And, yeah.
Well, it's difficult.
I'm sure people know what I'm talking about, Anyway, like, subscribe to the video channel. Yeah.
Super chats.
Yeah. Hit us up with super chats if you're feeling generous. Follow us on Twitter, all that good stuff. What should we go into next? Still
Inoki's
waiting for
dead.
back.
He passed away.
He did. So Antonio Inoki passed away at age 79. Was going to wait for Backup Hangman to jump in for this one, but obviously we can still touch on it.
Yeah.
Obviously one of the biggest names in the history of Japanese sports. To be honest, never mind just like wrestling. His influence went further than wrestling. He was in kind of rough shape the past few years. I think it's fair to say, and 79 years of age, passed away, and all the tributes and condolences and messages have been flooding out towards him, and a lot of there's been quite a lot of throwbacks and stuff like that, and different videos and little tidbits of history and all kinds of stuff with him, because he was just like this, like I said, just like huge character that he transcended wrestling, MMA. He was a big part of Pride before all that went under. Obviously, he started New Japan. He had a match with Ali, which was like a what would you even describe those rules, man? It was striking only, but not
that
boxing.
Was the original. That was the original MMA fight, man. Like that was insane. That event,
Yeah,
like they couldn't come to they couldn't come to a finish. So they just went out and just basically fight. What the fuck? It was
ended Ali's career pretty much.
Messed his legs up bad. Yeah, it fucked his legs up badly. Yeah, it's I wouldn't recommend, if anyone's never seen the fight, I wouldn't recommend watching the fight. Reading about it is very compelling. Watching it less so.
It's a piece of history,
Yeah,
if you just watch it through that lens as a piece of history, it's not like, oh, let's watch this great match or fight. It's not.
How familiar are you guys with like the actual in-ring work of Inoki? Because I was just saying to my audience before we come on here, like I've seen like the greatest hits or a handful of them, but I must say I'm not as educated on the wrestler as I'd like to be. I'm much more aware of the like mythology of Inoki, the story of Inoki than I'm the rest of the
mythology and the MMA. Mythology and MMA side,
All I know about Inoki is I've seen like maybe 3 or 4 matches. I always heard that he was kind of like not my words, or I guess my words, a boring wrestler. But then but some of the stuff that I have seen, I mean, I don't really saw like the match that sticks out to me is against Regal. And they just beat the crap out of each other. Or even the one with Vader.
Yeah, the Vader one in I think it was 96, right? Vader one when he's like 50 there. That match.
I actually haven't seen that one. I'm talking about the one where
squash.
Where
they get banned.
Debuts.
Yeah, they get banned from Sumo Hall. Yeah. That's a classic moment. You should watch the match when he comes back. That match is fucking incredible.
And I also know that he helped create Pride or something like that, and then he ended Pride 2 when he left the company.
Yeah,
which kind of sucks for me because I like Pride a lot.
The Flair match is one of those things you got to see. That's a very interesting piece of history for sure.
He definitely lived a storied life,
Yes,
to say the least.
Mm-hmm. I see. Adam was also at Royal Quest in chat. He brought it up. The 10 bell salute was a really surreal experience because they said, we're going to pay tribute to Inoki, and then Tanahashi and Okada just led the whole locker room out. And it was like, in that setting especially, that was a very, very, that was stick with me. That was very surreal. Seeing those guys lead the way and then those two stood in center ring while everyone else was at ringside, that was, that was something, man. It was pretty wild to experience that in Crystal Palace of all places. These guys, it was quite the experience.
It's especially too because Okada's been wearing the Inoki robe for like last year for the 50th year anniversary. So. Yeah, man.
Mad King brought up that was going around Twitter the other day.
Yeah, the Gallows.
Gallows was having a terrible match. Yeah. And Inoki still had, when he still had the pen or whatever in New Japan, went out there and just put a stop to it.
That's from I forget what they were called, IGF or something. That was like his own territory. Because Gallows worked there, somehow got booked in Noah, and then got booked in New Japan. So that's like its own thing altogether. Law, brother, different law. If it makes anyone feel any differently about the matter, On the Saturday night professional wrestling show that Luke Gallows wrestled on this past weekend, he did 3 elbow drops, and that was his whole involvement in the match. So, some things never change, right? Shout out to him, the big LG.
What a worker.
We should do, going to pull back the curtain here, Monty Rufus. I'm going to break some news on your behalf. We hope to do like a sort of collaboration group piece about Inoki, right, on WrestlePurious.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it would be cool if on some platform or in some shape or form we actually look a little bit at the in-ring, because we all kind of just agree we know more about the other stuff.
You're a green grappler.
Well, maybe, just maybe, but we'll see. We have a whole platform here, WrestlePurious, so we'll let it play out. But I'm certainly going to be doing a little bit of digging this week because I would like to see more of the wrestler beyond, as great as the stories are, hugely significant wrestler too, So there you go.
He's like a real historical figure,
Yeah, absolutely.
And just in time.
Well, he's like,
is that a camera?
Uh-oh. Speaking of historical figures, I believe was the setup here. Oh my goodness! Look at that. Incredible.
Pulling back the curtain.
Sure.
He's here. Back up, man.
Some sort of preparation appears to be taking place here.
He's setting his shit up. He joined the stream. It's what it is,
Yeah.
So before Heyman starts talking, I want to say Inoki just felt like one of those mythical people you felt like was never going to die.
Yeah.
And then he died. Like, oh shit.
It was pretty surreal, right? Very, very much so.
What's going on, everybody?
Good evening. How are you, pal?
I'm doing okay. I'm in road mode right now. I'm streaming from my phone, so my audio quality is probably dog shit because I'm not using my microphone. I'm using my headphones. I don't know how good I sound on the pod.
You honestly sound fine. Legitimately, you sound fine.
Really, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm using like bootleg headphone microphones. Yeah, like this is like the ghettoest possible setup. But yeah, I wanted to tap in today, not because I care to discuss anything that's on the docket other than ranting about Inoki. And I have a think piece coming up at some point in this podcast about how SmackDown is actually a territory wrestling show now. But yes, that sounds insane, doesn't it? But I have my reasons. But what about?
I'm pretty excited about this. This sounds like something I could get into. Here we go. Okay, great.
Yeah. But I just I hope you guys are doing good. What have I missed so far?
We talked about Bandido, and then we literally were talking about Inoki before you got here. So we all kind of spoke.
The amateurs spoke about Inoki.
Exactly.
And just in time,
No. Yeah, I don't know if you know this about me, Joe Hulbert, but I've watched more of classic New Japan than I care to admit. Like I could frankly like write a book on their history off the top of my head, which that probably suggests that there's something wrong with me, being that I'm a black male from New Jersey in his 20s. But I followed a lot of Inoki's career, and so if I may, he's just one of the most fascinating people in the history of the business. Like he's so unserious, like when you just read about the folk tales of Inoki and realize that they're not folk tales and just real things that this human being did, it just pops me tremendously. Like he's such a professional wrestler. Rovert, of all people on social media, said that the best way to describe him to a young fan who's not familiar with him is that he is Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon at the same time. And it's kind of true, because all the just over-the-top idiosyncrasies you hear about Vince and just how he envisions things and his philosophies and just do it, pal, it's good shit, and all that type of stuff. Like it very much applies to Inoki. This is a guy who there's just so many stories, there's so many weird things that he tried to do. I heard you guys talking about the Inoki Genome Federation, and it's just, what was he cooking? He just a fascinating fucking man. One of the things I want to touch on is, for those who don't know, Inoki was the top pupil of Rikidozan, who was the biggest superstar in Japanese wrestling in the 50s and 60s. And him and Inoki and Giant Baba were the disciples of Rikidozan. And when Rikidozan was murdered, they split off into their own promotions because Baba and Inoki had a rivalry. So they split off, and part of the reasons why they had a bit of a divide was that they had different philosophies on what wrestling should be. And when you look at what Inoki's vision of wrestling was, there are positives and negatives to how he viewed what wrestling should be. But undoubtedly, it created such a trickle-down effect that influenced the business in so many ways. You know, like Inoki's primary priority was legitimacy. You know, his whole thing was wrestling has to be seen as real by all means. It has to be perceived as real. And so for it to be real, you got to be a shooter, brother. You know, you got to, if you can't fuck somebody up in real life, I don't want you in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Like, that was genuinely the mindset. And so virtually every single wrestler that has stepped through the doors of New Japan during the periods where Inoki was running the promotion in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, they all, even if it wasn't heavily a part of their branding, they all had some type of shoot background. You know, whether it be some form of martial arts training, even if it was just preliminary, you had to have it because, again, like, the whole idea of just being a tough guy was important. And it makes sense because in Japan, there was no form of organized mixed martial arts. And so the Japanese public believed that the wrestling that they were seeing was real, you know? And so to maintain that, you had to have people that could basically give you an exhibition version of a fight so that they could buy it, so to speak, you know? And so, yeah, so Inoki's priority was legitimacy. And, you know, eventually, you know, you had the junior division, which was essentially the sideshow that, you know, popped people with the high flying and all that type of stuff, even though historically, if you go back, Inoki was actually not a big fan of the juniors. And it's for the typical reasons you could envision, which is just, you know, this is bullshit. This is bullshit, brother. You know, which here's another funny story. Satoru Sayama, the original Tiger Mask, right? He was just an athletic marvel. If you go back and watch this guy, it's unreal the way he wrestled for the late 70s, early 80s. Like, this dude is doing such high level athletic lucha, and he's just terrific, right? And yet, when you look into his story, Sayama resented being Tiger Mask. He almost felt like he was tap dancing because Sayama was a kickboxer and he knew how to fight for real. And so he's doing all this like lucha libre, and in his mind, he's like, I want to fucking fight Inoki. Like, and it's hilarious. And so he went to Inoki and he was like, yeah, this is bullshit. Can I like take the mask off and fight you? And Inoki was just kind of like, well, they already see you as Tiger Mask, so it's not going to work for me, brother. And so essentially he was condemned to life in the junior division. So he quit. And so he just fucking left. And it's a damn shame because I think he's one of the greatest juniors I've ever seen. And the fact that his run as Tiger Mask is as short as it is like a crime. It's absolutely a crime. But yeah, Inoki, you know, he just thought the public wouldn't buy Sayama fighting him because of the size difference and because of what he's been portrayed as. And so, you know, that's what happened there. You know, it's because of his tree that we got people like Yoshiaki Fujiwara, who then inspired and influenced people like Nobuhiko Takada and Akira Maeda, who were the pillars of the UWF, which was a shoot style wrestling promotion. Inoki was supposed to lead the UWF actually when it was being formed in 1984. And had he gone, it probably would have killed New Japan Pro Wrestling. Because if you look at it, in the early 80s, New Japan was pretty much the hottest wrestling promotion in the world, right? But you go to 1984 and now Hulk Hogan bolts for the WWF. Andre the Giant bolts for the WWF. Dynamite Kid bolts for the WWF. One of their own homegrown superstars, Riki Choshu, he leaves for All Japan Pro Wrestling. And so in terms of top guys, all you really have left are Masa Saito, Tatsumi Fujinami, and Antonio Inoki. And so that's already a really bad situation there. And Inoki was thinking of leaving. Had he gone and went to help form the UWF, they would have lost their TV deal, and that would have been the end of New Japan right there. He opted not to leave. He double crosses the guys running UWF with a Carney. He just double crosses them. But because he's Inoki and he's just really savvy, he assumed that without him, that UWF would die. They didn't. They were a reasonably sizable and reasonably successful second-rate promotion. And in '86, he proposes an invasion angle to make money. And so they did that, and it was highly successful. But anyway, point is, super, super influential. His whole thing when it comes to wrestling is it's actually because of him really that we had a lot of submission-based wrestling, because Giant Baba in All Japan didn't believe in submissions because his philosophy on wrestling in general was just not like that. Like, he was just like, no, we tell stories, you beat guys in the ring, clean. Inoki's like, fuck that. Like, no, we fight. I will submit you and you tap out because I am a better man than you. And so, submission-based wrestling kind of spawned off that. But yeah, so many guys came from his tree. Unfortunately, his obsession with legitimacy, eventually was to the detriment of New Japan, because for a long time the business model was invading shooter main eventing against Inoki, right? And Inoki would beat the guy, and it was a feel-good moment, and people loved the formula. Not too different from really the Hulk Hogan formula in the United States, where it's just like people were totally content with having one top guy just be the guy headlining and getting the feel-good W for years on end, right? But as we know with wrestling, trends change, right? And so the whole invading shooter thing evolved into invading promotion versus New Japan as the formula, and that was the formula of the 90s. But yeah, once actual mixed martial arts, started to kind of come around in Japan, and people saw what real fighting looks like, they're like, oh, so this is not real. And Inoki didn't appreciate that. And so his whole thing was, all right, guys, we got to show that we can fight too, and Inoki came from that. And, as you guys all probably know, he had bro, he sent Liger to fight. Like, why would you send Liger to fight?
He had man's fighting Crow Cop, bro.
That's the craziest fight. It was always the baddest dudes on the planet. That's the craziest.
Yeah, that's the thing. Listen, man, Yuji Nagata, right? He did some amateur wrestling when he was like crazy. 18, right? He did some amateur wrestling at the age of 18, so he knows how to grapple a little bit. He sent that man, if I'm not mistaken, to fight Fedor.
Yeah.
And this guy was in his athletic prime, could kill anyone in the world. Why would you do that? Like, that's like but, if I had to think of a WWE equivalent, bro, that's like fucking, oh my god, bro. That's like sending Madcap Moss. Because Moss did some amateur wrestling. That's like sending Madcap Moss to fight like Francis Ngannou.
But look, how many people can say they got KO'd by Fedor or Pro Cop?
I mean, a lot of people. They KO'd a lot of fucking dudes, man.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. Inokiism was really bad for New Japan. Keiji Muto said, "Fuck this! I am not fighting mixed martial artists," and he left.
The funny thing about Liger getting KO'd is he has the Liger mask on too.
He has the Liger mask. Listen, he got knocked out. Muto said, "Fuck this." Satoshi Kojima was like,
obviously a big one.
Muto saw the light and went to
have Ogawa. Oh my god! So here's the thing, Joe. Shinya Hashimoto was the biggest draw in the history of the promotion. Yeah,
he was putting like 60K in the dome and shit, wasn't it?
60,000 people in the dome routinely. Monty, from October of '95 to the to the end of '96, they ran the Tokyo Dome 4 times, and every time sold it out. Do you realize how insane that is, to run the Tokyo Dome 4 times in a year and get 60,000 people in there every single time? That's insane. So Hashimoto was a massive superstar. He had legitimate badass aura. He literally beat the UWFI's top ace in the Tokyo Dome. So people see him as a tough guy, right? And here's the thing. If your primary appeal is that you're a badass and a tough guy, once you lose that, you lost everything, right? And for whatever reason, there's no real explanation for this, because the only people who know this are God and Inoki. But for whatever reason, Inoki's protege, who he practiced, martial arts with, Naoya Ogawa, he brought this guy in and basically secretly instructed him to shoot on Shinya Hashimoto in their exhibition wrestling match. Hashimoto goes into this match thinking that we're going to have a wrestling match. Like, it's just a work. And Ogawa's thinking like, no, I'm going to beat the shit out of him because Inoki instructed him to. And so what happened at the Dome? He beat the shit out of him. And on national television in Japan, you see the top ace of New Japan get pummeled and pounded in. And insane. And the controversy in Inoki's mind was, this is going to draw so much heat and attention, and it could be a big program. This karate guy just beats up Hashimoto, and we could get multiple rematches. But Hashimoto's aura was just never the same. It was just never the same. That's actually the beginning domino effect that started Inokiism, and to me, it's just one of the most preposterous booking decisions I've ever seen. But in his mind, it was going to be this crazy provocative thing that was going to start a huge program. Really strange. But yeah, that did happen, Joe. that did happen. Inoki separated from New Japan around 2005. The other people, the other chairman of the company realized like this was just absolute madness and they needed to move on from it. And he was just like, fuck you guys, this is Beast. IGF, I'm going to continue it in my own promotion. And I'm taking the belt. Yeah, and I'm taking my belt too. And they're like, it's our belt. It's New Japan's championship. And he's like, no, it's mine.
That is where that particular Gallows match happened, right? I was right about that, right?
Yes,
that was IGF.
IGF. It was in the IGF, yeah. And Inoki, that was the main event of the show.
Building monsters, brother. They were building monsters over there.
Here's the thing, Joe. IGF was off to a pretty good start because when things weren't going well for Brock in New Japan, Inoki was like, man, fuck him. Come to my company. Yeah. You're awesome. Like Inoki like Brock, which is awesome.
Everyone loves Brock,
Yeah, I just think but what I think is funny, Monty, is that Inoki's pretty picky when it comes to his taste in wrestlers. And again, you have to be a badass to pass the Inoki test. And so the fact that he just saw his Fed work and was like, no, this guy rules. Like, this guy's fucking awesome. Like, that's just, it pops me.
Could you imagine the money he would have drawn with Brock? Dude, if you could time
that's
machine
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Oh my God. I forgot to fucking mention. The thing about Inoki, despite being just a maniac, this guy, he did such great business with Vader. Vader, I think it's his first match, squashes Inoki in Sumo Hall in '87 when literally nobody ever pinned Inoki clean.
That's an incredible scene, man. That's insane. Incredible wrestling moment right there.
This guy walks in, beats the shit out of Inoki in Sumo Hall in '87, causes a riot. People try to kill Vader because of what he did to Inoki, and it just set him. He was off to the races after that. And through Vader, they were able to create so many superstars, as it's been the case with Vader his whole career. What a talent. Inoki's match with Vader in the Tokyo Dome in '96 was Vader's final match in New Japan. Mm-hmm. And it's if anyone has never seen it, you should see it. Inoki's 52 years old. It's pretty much his last major singles match, because everything else is like exhibitions. He's 52. He avenges his loss to Vader, and he gets spiked on his head on a German suplex and just bleeds, and it's awesome. It's just an amazing match. Mm-hmm. So you should definitely see that. But yeah, the IGF didn't work out. We did get a good Brock Lesnar Kurt Angle match out of the promotion. It's because of that promotion that the lineage of the IWGP Heavyweight Championship is really muddy in the mid 2000s. There's literally there's a period where they had an IWGP Heavyweight Championship second belt and third belt. Those are the labels, and they had to unify all three of them. And we finally cleaned up the legacy by 2009. So that's hilarious. They literally had to pull Angle from TNA, and they're like, "Hey, can you come here so we can fucking clean this up?" And they did that with him and Nagata at the Dome. But yeah, man, Inoki was just so important, man. He was a pioneer. He literally fought Muhammad Ali. That's just insane to me. And it was preposterous because the match was supposed to be a work, and it ended up being a shoot. But they gave Inoki so many restrictions, and it caused Inoki to just lay on his back and try to take him down, and Ali did not know what he was looking at because like MMA wasn't a thing. Just preposterous. But what a personality, what a figure. He's so important to the history of wrestling. He literally is a former WWF champion, which is just insane to me. Like pre-Hogan Fed lore is just really fascinating. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. He beat Bob Backlund and won the WWF championship. And then Vince Jr. was just like, yeah, this isn't canon anymore. Which is just funny to me. I'm sorry. When I read up on wrestling politics from like the 70s and 80s, it pops me so much. Like it just
it's much more interesting what we get now, right?
The fact that guys can walk into the building the day of the show and just be like, it doesn't work for me, brother.
Yeah. I always love the Brody story of when like he was on his way to the tag league final for New Japan. Was just like, well, fuck this. I'm not showing up. I'm going back to All Japan, brother. Fuck this.
Yes.
Yeah. Incredible
stuff. What?
It's amazing.
Like, I want to reiterate, Inoki told his protege, beat this guy up for real in this match. Just catch him off guard and just sneak him. And you're going to get great heat. Like what?
You're crazy, bro. He just did what he wanted, you know. He didn't listen to anybody.
No, he didn't. I want to reiterate that when he was instilling Inokiism in the early 2000s, everyone around him told him it was an awful idea. He lost Keiji Muto, who was like their second biggest star of the 90s. And they were like, yeah, this is a sign to stop. And he was like, no, he's a weak man.
That's where he's probably an extreme case. But it was definitely something for like folks that are, trendsetters, trailblazers. Once they have proven to themselves they were right where other people were wrong, it kind of is the end because then there is no telling them they're wrong. You know, like they've heard that before. That's kind
when the Dave on the Observer the other day was telling the story about how the Congress was telling Inoki he can't go to North Korea, and because they told him he couldn't go to North Korea, he said, "I'm going to North Korea." Like,
you know what I think it is, Monty? I think, especially in wrestling, because you always hear them say, like, well, you want to draw money, brother? I think when you have, been the top guy in a promotion and you've drawn money for like 20 years, you just think, like, bro, no one can tell me shit, bro. Like, I know how to do this. You know what I mean? So he's probably like, well, I did it this way and it worked. So
what do you think Ric Flair's insane, bro?
Do you think he's the... Is he the mystery partner in that fucking match with Steamboat? Is that what he thinks going to happen?
Probably.
It feels like, who else would it even be? Like, it's a trios match, and the other team is Lethal, Brock Anderson, and someone.
I have a connection to make, Monty. The reason why wrestlers of the past were more insane and had larger egos than the wrestlers of today is their control over a promotion and a promotion's finances and hold on. Their control over a promotion's finances and a promotion's fortunes was so much more than now. You know what I mean? The brand of these promotions are so much bigger than the wrestlers, right? You know what I mean? Like, like Seth Rollins can leave WWE and it affects nothing about WWE's bottom line.
Right.
He has no leverage. You had guys in the past where it's like, promoters were at their knees to get certain guys to headline their shows because it was like it was make or break whether those people would be the make or breaks. And so when you have that much power and like, I'm the one drawing the house, brother. Like they'd
live and die in the houses as well,
Yes.
So a lot of the finance now is a lot more like if you get that TV contract, you basically just settle. Like you're it's very different.
Mad King asked rumor Inoki wanting to fight idiot. I mean, true. Dave said on Observer Radio the other day that was true. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah,
I know. It's crazy to think about, man. Like again, Inoki literally could have single-handedly killed New Japan by leaving to go into the UWF. When one man has power like this, like your ego must be just through the roof. You know what I mean? And so I could see it almost being hard for anyone to tell these types of people shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because they've been right when others were wrong so many times, right?
Yes.
Like it's just They trust their instincts.
Inoki's on record, right? That he did an interview with the Japanese media. Was like, "Do you feel to blame for Keiji Muto's departure from New Japan?" And he was just like, he basically was just like, "What does it fucking matter?" And his whole thing was like, he said he was basically like, "We lost Hulk Hogan, and Muto is no Hogan." Like,
Yeah.
Which that's just crazy to me. That's very Vince-like to me. Because when Vince loses big stars, he kind of just like, fuck them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, it's crazy.
I also think that's one of those things that comes with like, once you've seen enough like wrestling generations, the newer guys will never move you the way the original guys used. Right? That's the other thing. Like, I think that was probably at play there too.
A literal top tier superstar leaving, and he's just like, I've lost Hogan and Andre, brother. Like,
exactly, yeah.
It's funny because when you told him that Muto just went to All Japan, just did big business for All Japan for the next 3 years.
All Japan had no business surviving Misawa's departure,
what I was gonna say.
And the only reason why they did was because of Keiji Muto.
There's no way they do without, right? They absolutely go under. They must.
He had the 2001 match of the year with Kawada for the
bro. Keiji Muto. Look at it this way: Misawa took 98% of the roster with him to Noah. How does a promotion survive that? And then they just said, and then Keiji Muto came in and said, "I'm going to come into this empty promotion." And then basically called over Tenryu. They brought Tenryu back. Kawada was like, "Yeah, I'll freelance." And then they were just like, "All right, we'll just fill up the card with whoever wants to show up on a given month, and we'll see what happens." And all they had to do was just throw freaking Muto's name on the marquee with Tenryu, and they just survived.
Yeah,
like that's crazy.
It does. I must admit, like, there is something to be said for the actual individual wrestlers having that much power.
Yeah.
And while there is, a steadiness to being the brand is what matters most, it does make our conversations about wrestling less dynamic, right? Like,
yes.
For example, was this last month. I mean, AEW has to suspend 4 of its top guys, and the fucking rating goes up, and it's like now it doesn't matter. It's so bizarre.
It matters for the quality of the show, but when it comes to business, it just doesn't really do anything now. Yeah.
It's funny because Muta still has that same pull today in Noah. Just look at the stuff that he was doing before, just beating all the young guys. And like,
when you think about it, it's the reason why there's not as much politics now in wrestling, even though it still absolutely exists. It's just almost like there's just not as much purely off the fact that, like, what is a wrestler's leverage? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now in AEW, obviously, like, for example, like Tony Khan, he wants his talents to be happy, whereas like Vince, for the longest time, like, it's very much like, I'm going to do what I want to do, regardless of how anyone feels about it. And so, like, if you want to preserve people's feelings, that's one thing, but like, we were living in a period where like wrestlers could just use their power and their leverage to just get whatever they want booked, because it's like, you either book it or I just walk out, brother. So yeah, it's
going to be really interesting now. Like, this is the first time since that shift where it's been like more brand predominant. In the US, there's been like a potential bidding war situation this last couple of years.
Yeah.
It'll be really interesting how far Tony will push some of these contracts and salaries, if he looks at certain guys, not naming anyone, and saying, this guy's never moved ratings for us, and Triple H is looking to pay them 7 figures, how much of his offer will be like ego and pride, which I think we would all understand if it was, because business-wise, there are like 3 guys that actually are a game changer for them on that front, right? You could be very cynical about it. I don't think he will or should be, to be clear, but that will be an interesting thing to watch kind of unfold in the coming months and years. It'd be interesting.
Joe, you know what I came across like not that long ago that applies to your thing about dynamic conversations based on wrestlers' leverage individually. So the Wrestling Observer newsletter, I don't think it does it anymore, but they used to have a section in the 90s where like fans can kind of chime in with their opinions of things, right? Like the hardcore smart fans. And one of the issues of the Observer it was from like maybe early '97, and it might have been like the period where Shawn like said he lost his smile and refused to do the job to Brett, right, at Mania. And someone just wrote to Dave like, bro, who the hell does this guy think he is? And in his paragraph, he said Shawn Michaels is the greatest worker he's ever seen, and his reasoning was that he said Shawn has convinced Vince that people care about him. And when I was reading about it, he was using like statistics to back his argument, and it was just so funny to me because he was like Shawn really has convinced Vince that he's Hogan. And he was saying like he's not Hogan. His title reign did not draw. The houses are down, brother, and they're just kind of going through the numbers, and it was just hilarious. It was just hilarious to hear.
It's really interesting because wrestling is, right or wrong, and the person this is not how I watch wrestling. Anyone who watches these shows knows that. But historically, wrestling's good and bad is judged on its impact on business. That's historically how people have viewed wrestling. And that conversation is a great example of it. And I think what's happening is folks like us that are doing this right now and are seeing how it's changed, we're leaning increasingly towards like the
quality of performance.
Like being more critical of the performance and the quality and so on, rather than what will this do to business? Because I think we've all kind of concluded that stuff's kind of stagnant regardless of what happens. For better or worse, it just is. You know, so it's interesting to watch that evolve, I think.
When people are breaking down like the Observer Hall of Fames and stuff, and people are like, well, Sting or Toway couldn't are Hall of Famers because they didn't draw. And it's like that's the whole funny part of the whole argument.
That's cap because Sting popped the biggest buy rate that WCW ever had at Starrcade 1997. So that's bullshit. And one thing I want to point out is like a lot of times drawing really is dependent on quality of booking, though. Like sometimes it does go intertwined. And the reason Sting didn't draw any further late into the 90s is because of WCW, not because of him. They fumbled a good thing. And similarly with Goldberg. What did I want to say? It's so intertwined. Okay, here's what I wanted to say. So when I watch 90s All Japan and 90s New Japan, to me personally, right, I prefer New Japan. I think it's better than 90s All Japan at everything other than quality of main event matches, right? And that's pretty much thanks to the exceptional work of like the Pillars and some of the top gaijins like a Stan Hansen and a Dr. Steve Williams, right? But what I will say is because Baba's style is more straightforward and simplistic, you don't get these like really provocative angles that are like, you know what I mean? And I was literally just watching something, right? That literally, it spoke to me. I'm like, this is why New Japan at the time could sell out the Tokyo Dome. They literally would have these boxing / UFC style angles. I just watched a match in the 97 G1. I want to share this real quick. Joe, tell me this doesn't sound extremely beast. Don Fry, shooter, right?
I'm in.
Don Fry comes in, right? And Kazuyuki Fujita comes in. Fujita is primarily just a shooter. He's not a wrestler, but he thinks that it's a disgrace that this guy Don Fry is entering pro wrestling in the G1, and so he's like, I'm going to stop him for Japan. And so they fight in the first round of the G1, right? And in the front row is Inoki's protege, Naoya Ogawa, right? These guys have a shoot style match. It goes about 8 minutes. Don Fry is increasingly more disobedient when it comes to things like rope breaks and stuff like that. And that's when the crowd starts to boo him. And he's kind of like, his whole body language is like, this is wrestling bullshit and I could kill anyone here, right? And so he's obeying rope breaks, even though he's not familiar with those things. And eventually he spikes Fujita on a German and then gives him a rear naked, right? The bell rings. Fujita's out cold. He will not let go of the hold. As the bell is ringing repeatedly, right? He's not letting go of the hold. And then immediately Kensuke Sasaki, Shinjiro Otani, and who else? Koji Kanemoto and freaking Naoya Ogawa storm into the ring, right, to jump this guy, right? He's literally fighting 1-on-4. Like he's just fighting 4 dudes. There's a bunch of guys running in. The young lions are pulling each other back and shit. It's chaotic. Ogawa's clearing through the young lions to fight Don Fry. They're throwing hands. They get separated. It's a chaotic, like maniacal brawl. And out comes Inoki, literally ripping his suit jacket like he's fucking Vince McMahon. And he's just running through like, damn it, enough. enough. He runs in, right? The entire scene clears out. Everybody stops fighting because Inoki's in the ring. Then Don Fry just smacks him. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my.
And you hear on commentary Masa Saito, former New Japan wrestler, I don't know what he's saying in Japanese, but he is outraged. He's like, Masaka! And you hear him like slamming his headphones and he's angry as shit. He's just like, oh. Kensuke Sasaki, he's getting escorted out with security and he's screaming on the ramp. And Don Fry's is putting his fists up and he gets to the crowd and they're booing him. People are throwing garbage at him. Oh. And that's the end of the scene. And I'm like,
hey,
bro,
man, I need you to send me that.
I'm gonna send it to you, and then all we see is the bracket next, and it says that like Sasaki and like Ogawa are coming up next for Don Fry, and I'm like, okay, I'm watching the rest of this tonight.
That's a wrestling angle, man.
Like, this is wrestling. This is fucking wrestling.
Oh no, man.
Yeah,
real angle.
I used to never be one of these guys that said that wrestling.
This is why you
better.
feel. This is how you fill a house, Monty. This is how you fucking sell tickets.
It's
true.
I totally get your. I get your perspective on it, Manny. Like. But I think you've recently come around to the angle thing, right? I've seen many go through this process.
Angles matter.
It has to be a fire angle though for Manny.
Yeah, but I'm talking about when, like, I used to think like, oh, modern wrestling is better, but then I go through some of these UWFI like matches and like these shooter matches in like New Japan, and I'm just like, fuck, man.
Here's the thing. Joe, as Fry, because it's on archive.org, Fry's walking out, right? And the media is following him, and he's saying in English, New Japan Pro Wrestling bullshit. And I'm like,
fucking
like, Inoki, I can't tell what he's saying directly, but I see him pointing at Sasaki as if to say, like, no, I don't need to fight this guy. Like, Sasaki will take him. Sasaki will take him. And Sasaki's just pacing back and forth, like screaming. Like, he's so heated, like in the locker room. I was like, man, this is incredible.
See, I love shit like that because that's like an idea that overarches the whole promotion, you know? Like, that's like one of those things that you can you have stuff within, obviously, and not everyone's going to focus on Don Fry, but you have this idea that the promotion is being kind of, you know, taken
under
over
attack.
by this. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's such a lost art. Like, everything exists in its own segment now, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
oh, my God.
Yeah.
Dude, when he refused to break the hold, the entire main event scene just ran out to the ring like, you bitch.
This is a modern example, but I think it'll make sense, you know, because we're talking kind of broadly here. Like, I'm very much using what Manny said, so it used to be better talk. I'm sorry, guys. We'll move on in a minute. But the best example I can give of this is when Kenny left Dynamite with the AEW belt to go to Impact. And the next TV just started with like a match. And it's like, brother, the fucking locker room should be like, he stole the belt and went to Impact.
I think we talked about this. You know? Yeah. We're saying like can we hear people lament this? Like, what are their opinions on the fact that this happened? You know, like,
that's like a good example of how kind of things have changed. But nonetheless,
well, to be honest, it's Impact. But
that's even worse. You should have Eddie Kingston starting the show being like, "Fuck Impact, let's get his belt back," you know. But whatever. Yeah. I've done enough. It used to be better talk today. Monty, get me off of this before I go.
We'll move on from Inoki.
Y'all don't want to turn me completely loose, man. I'm a fun.
Yeah, we've done our Inoki's, you know.
It rules.
Hot Japan angles, all that stuff.
You guys want to talk about Loki trying to start beating Kenta?
It's all about Loki.
my only opinion on that is Loki is insane.
Yeah, he's a crazy dude, you know.
I was telling Monty we need to book him earlier.
Me and Joe were planning. We were drawing up the blueprints for the recipe we were showing in where we're doing at York Hall.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God!
The Mecca,
I know. Me and Joe were talking about this a while back when we're talking about like Loki versus Samoa Joe fight without honor, and they hit like I was saying that match was so awesome because it was the only hardcore match I've ever seen where there was no weapons involved. They're just throwing like closed fists and like elbows to elbows, like when they're on the ground, like illegal elbows there in the UFC. It's awesome.
Joe's great at that. Literally, his match with Kurt Angle at Genesis 06. Like they don't use weapons, but they're just like bleeding all over the place and hitting each other with their bare hands. Yeah. It that to me feels more violent and just carnal.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Than like a kendo stick fest or some shit like that. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why I brought up the point. I think like a couple weeks ago where I was like, the street fight that the best friends had with Santana or Ortiz doesn't feel as violent compared to the matches we see on Dynamite now, because like they're just like bloody brawls.
I will say,
Yeah.
you're right about the blood was definitely more striking then than it would be now, but like the vibe to that was awesome though. Like that did feel like they were kicking the shit out. That was they took that much more seriously, honestly, than they needed to. That was pretty awesome.
Wait, who took what more serious?
You know the best friends Santana, the parking lot deal. Like they took some crazy bumps.
That match is awesome. Yeah, that match is awesome.
But I think Manny and I were talking about this the other day. Like, I think it's easy to forget that there was a lot of blood on AEW then, but it's like there's so much now that it doesn't feel as stark as it did when that match aired. It was like holy shit, right?
Bro,
crazy.
John Moxley bled against Juice Robinson in one of the worst TV matches of the year.
Well, to be fair, the wrestling now on AEW, the wrestling on AEW now is more stiff, so people just get busted open just doing crazy shit. Like Chris Jericho took like a face bump that he didn't have to take; he just got busted open from it.
There's a lot of violence.
Monty, here's the thing: the work in that match was absolutely professional and acceptable. But that match, because of what it represents to me, is like one of the worst matches of the year. Fuck that match.
I feel like you've seen some Dominic Mysterio matches. Like, come on.
Here's the thing, but I know that Dominic is shit, so it's like it doesn't it doesn't offend me. You know what I mean? Like he's bad, and he like a bad wrestler being bad is like just like I can't get mad at that because like that's what I should expect. You know what I mean?
You're not telling me there's a SmackDown match that was worse than that.
It feels like one of those situations where, like, sorry, Manny, go ahead. What you saying?
No, I was saying there has to be a SmackDown match worse than that one.
Well, we're gonna get to SmackDown in a second because
Hanger said the territory show.
Yeah, we need to get because I need to figure out if there's a wrestling TV show I can enjoy. But that Juice situation feels like one of those deals where like. Moxley comes to Tony. He's like, I want to wrestle Juice Robinson. Tony's like, that's great, man. You could do that in New York City for New Japan anytime. We need to shoot a fucking angle on our TV show. We don't need to be doing this 10-minute match on Dynamite. But, you got to let Mox do his thing, obviously. It is what it is.
Juice Moxley offended me because I looked at it as a tryout for Juice. And it just fundamentally misunderstood the point of pro wrestling, in my opinion. Like, there was, I just like he just... It was a complete misunderstanding of the assignment of what you were supposed to do there. And it's the opposite of Bandido and Jericho. Bandido went out there and he performed and he got over in front of the live crowd. And it was almost like Bandido knows when he works, right? He knows how to introduce people to him, even if you've never seen him wrestling wise. And it's remarkable. Juice disappointed me because he's a good wrestler and he just felt so devoid of the charisma that he used to have, and visually, he's just so unremarkable now. Go ahead.
To be fair to Juice Robinson, he's never been in the conversation for best wrestler in the world compared to Bandido.
Sure, but he's good though. He's good. He's not a bad wrestler by any means. And I always thought he was a charismatic performer, and I like the colorful outfits and things like that. So just seeing him being like a generic wrestler with beard, long hair, and black pants, just have like a nothing match with John Moxley. It just kind of hurt me. So
I think they misread. Like I think everyone involved thought that match was going to have more heat in the building. Like I think they thought he was going to be more over in Philly, and obviously that just wasn't how it worked out. That was a strange crowd. In fairness, like, I think that was part.
Really
of it.
weird.
Obviously, ideally you would adjust, but like they couldn't get them in that match, man. They just sat there for the whole thing.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Well, they're getting WWE crowds.
That's what Dave's been arguing.
That's what I got it from.
I'm kind of up and down. Like I don't
know about this.
I don't know if just signing WWE people has led to WWE style people sitting there watching. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Because Dynamite crowds are still generally pretty great, like they're still generally pretty damn great.
Yeah. I was scratching my head when he said that. He's like, well, AEW keeps selling WWE people, so that means more WWE people are watching AEW. And I was like, what are you talking about?
How many of the guys they've signed would you say are like legitimately WWE people? Like
Chris Jericho,
right? And he was there from the start, right?
Miro.
Like I think Miro's a good one, yeah. But I think Miro, after his TNT title run, felt like, he only now feels like he's on the outside looking in because
Punk definitely brought some Fed fans over.
Yeah. Because there was a noted increase in the regular weekly viewership and things like that,
But Punk's identity is very much in opposition to WWE anyway.
Of course,
you know what I'm
of
saying?
course,
Like, so
of course.
I'm trying to think of guys where it's like, oh, he's a real like WWE guy. It's like, I mean, I get there's a few, but I don't think there's been like a lot of the guys they've signed to me feel like AEW guys at core anyway.
Well, yeah. Here's my thing. I don't think there's been like tons of people that like have failed to transition. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not like Tony Khan is bringing over like Miz ass wrestlers.
Right.
So yeah, yeah, right. I think it's something to monitor overall. It's just something to monitor. What did you guys say about the whole Bandido situation and the fact that we have confirmation that Tony offered him a deal, right?
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, no one has confirmed to anyone that Bandido has signed this, which is scary.
I want to clear something up when I said I was going to burn the mask. I wouldn't burn the mask if it was any other color, but the color I got was an ugly color, and that was the only one I can find online.
Tell me why I just noticed Manny's wearing a mask.
I don't know. We had an incredible moment earlier where he said his sound was muffled, and Monty and I were convinced it was because he had a fucking mask on.
Is that psychosis, Manny?
Yeah, psychosis.
Got you.
I literally got home from work as soon as the show started, and this just got here the same day because I ordered this mask with the Great Sasuke mask and a Bandido mask, but for some reason they all ship separately, even though it's from the same person. So I was gonna wear the Bandido mask, but it's not here.
Hey Monty, I got some stuff here. I'm opening up Twitter. Wardlow tweeted. No, it's not breaking news at all. It's just it's a worked tweet. Wardlow said, "I dare someone to challenge me for the TNT title this Wednesday at the anniversary show. Someone remotely close to my level. Just show up. I'll be waiting." Hashtag at Tony Khan. I love you, Manny.
Imagine Batista comes out. They work a 5-minute sprint and call it a day. Oh wow, fucking it'd be awesome.
I'd give it 3 3/4 stars.
They're in DC. They're
Oh my god!
Oh shit, piecing it together now, brother. I like this.
Yeah, look at Manny. Yeah, I wonder who that's gonna be. Maybe Lance Archer. Maybe
You don't know Archer, man.
Has he wrestled Archer?
Yeah, he was one of MJF's.
He was one of the power bombs, man.
Oh, was he? Yeah. Honestly, I don't mind him running back some of those guys because I actually enjoyed that little Wardlow versus Haas's series that they were doing.
The Archer match was actually quite good.
Yeah.
I remember one of them being like really awesome.
That was a great Archer performance. He was so selfless in that match for a big man. He just made Wardlow look like the killer they wanted him to be. The Wardlow stuff, like him and Joe, is such an interesting dynamic because I like it a lot.
Yeah.
But then I also don't know how I'd book it because like they're both just destroyers, Like you can have them smash guys, but at the same time,
looking forward to Dave saying this later.
Goldberg, yeah.
Goldberg confirmed.
A classic.
You know what?
We've got a couple of super chats.
Tony Khan is actually a really big Goldberg fan.
Absolutely.
Right.
As he should be.
Will you guys ever have Denise outside of channel? I've never actually spoke to her, to be honest. So doubtful.
Fair.
I have no comment on that.
Which AEW and WWE wrestler would you trade?
That's a good question.
I think it would be a good idea if all the wrestlers I like were on one show. And all the ones I don't like went somewhere else. That would be a good idea. But I don't know specifics,
You know what's funny, Joe? I literally thought about this at work. I said that because of the situation we're in, I almost wish that wrestling was like sports and these organizations could just like make trades with each other. Like I actually think some trades would be great. It also makes for hilarious banter because could you imagine wrestling fans like breaking down like which side was fleeced on the deal?
I think it should be. I honestly think it should exist. Like we've had a lot of fun with it on this platform. There's one show in particular. I remember Manny and I hijacked the show. Monty was outraged at our unprofessionalism, but seriously, like sometimes guys just need a new spot. Like.
Yes.
Everyone laughs about that Cody quote. It was time to leave the territory. That is a real thing, man. That's a real thing. Though. Guys do need to leave the territory.
Just the way he says things,
I wish AEW I wish AEW had WWE's like TV dates where they have like a 3-hour show, like then they have like.
No, you don't. You don't want that show to be 3 hours long, bro. Trust me.
No, but I wish they had like their TV schedule, and then they had like Roderick Strong, Ricochet, and all that, so I could just watch all my favorite wrestlers on one program instead of trying to fit them into 3 hours of TV.
I just want to see Roddy wrestle, bro. It's been a while.
Yeah, he's injured at the moment. But,
is it bad? Does anyone know what the injury is?
No, I can tell you that
Passion.
Roderick Strong, Roderick Strong, Tommaso Ciampa, and Bobby Roode have undisclosed injuries.
Yeah.
Bobby Roode, actually, I was told that Hunter was gonna give him the rocket ship on SmackDown, and go full NXT Glorious mode, and I popped huge, and then it didn't happen, and I found out that he was injured.
I love Bobby. How old is Bobby Roode, man?
Like 45 or whatever.
He was a hell of a pro, but come on, it's outrageous.
Nah, I can't lie to you. That would have popped me.
I mean,
that would have
me
been so
too,
beast.
but,
That would have been so beast.
In an objective mindset, it's kind of insane, right? Could you imagine?
Nah, objectively, it's awesome.
Imagine them running him at fucking Roman.
I don't know. Now I don't know if they're gonna give him that level of rocket. I don't know if we're gonna do that.
Yeah. Nah, he's had one interesting main roster run he actually ended up having, right? They brought him as a babyface.
I don't remember a thing about it.
The thing that
he
always
won the US title at one point.
Yeah, he was the top. He was the top heel, and they brought him as a babyface because they thought people were going to sing the song. And it's like you immediately undercut him with that. And then he had a program for Randy for the US belt.
That was actually kind of decent.
Yeah, and then I guess he was with Dolph for longer. I think if we guessed how long he's with Dolph, it would be longer than that. I feel like they were together for quite a long time because Heyman put them together for a while. He
teamed with Dolph in 2019.
There you go.
Dirty Dogs.
Why have the Dirty Dogs been together for 3 years?
Bro, they were a strong WCW Saturday Night Tag Team, man. There was a match they had with Ray where it was basically a handicap that was fucking incredible. They went like 15 minutes.
Oh, I remember this. I remember this.
People pretended it was bad. It was disgusting.
Nah, it was awesome. Monty, you know what I was looking forward to? When Cody was still around and had a functioning tit, I was really excited for the singles matches with Cody versus Dolph and Cody versus Bobby, because they're very well-trained, throwback, traditional style American wrestlers, right? And I was like, yeah, Cody and Bobby are going to show these kids how to fucking work. This is going to be awesome. I was actually really I talked myself into it,
Dolph would have done a work shoot promo about how he could have left at any time and been a top guy on the indies, and fucking they'd have done loads of that shit.
Yeah, speaking of people getting pushes, someone brought up a subject I was going to bring up anyway. Max Dupree is now going back to LA Knight, apparently. That's what he's being internally listed as on the roster and the internal roster. And he's going back to being LA Knight, so we'll actually get to see what that looks like on the main roster, because obviously we haven't got that yet because he's been doing this maximum male model bullshit.
What the fuck? How the fuck did LA Knight get messed around with, man? Dude could talk, has a great look. What? Vince was in an absolute state at the end there, man. Good Lord. I'm happy to see that.
Monty, I'm switching devices, so get ready to add me.
Okay.
I've always liked Eli Drake. I think he's one of those guys who I think a lot of people dismissed because his promos were kind of derivative, but he's fucking good at those promos, And he had some really nice stuff in NXT that went under the radar because people wasn't watching NXT anymore. So I'm happy for him. Hopefully he gets a good shot. He's obviously an older guy. But he can be a player. He can be a guy you get good TV out of, nothing else. So I'm looking forward to it.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mr. Knight will continue to further the transition of SmackDown into Mid-South.
Okay, we need to explore this now because I'm very excited by this.
Hold on.
Sure.
Okay. You sure, Monty? This is really exciting. We could talk ourselves into this, man.
We've got roughly 35 minutes left.
Sure.
The only thing that I really need to make sure we touch on.
Yeah.
Giulia winning the 5-star GP.
Right.
I'll just kind of quickly run through this. I'm going to use our good friend Pepsi's Wrestle Purist Joshi guide to kind of guide me through this.
If you don't read the Joshi guide that Peps puts together, it's very comprehensive and informative, and I recommend everybody check it out.
Yeah. I'll just go over the main points. So of course, after 2 months, so a pretty long tournament, pretty similar to like how the New Japan did the G1 in terms of like the length of it. The main tournament of the year, 5 stars over. Giulia was crowned the new winner after defeating Tam Nakano in the final, which was our Wrestle Purist match of the week. It was a great match. It was a great way to finish off the tournament. She will now challenge for the World of Stardom title on the December 29th show at Sumo Hall. And yeah, the final day on the show was full of great matches, to be honest. There was like 4, I think, out of our 5 top matches of the week, 4 of them were from the final day show, the 5-star
Giulia
GP.
matches were fucking incredible, man.
Yeah, they were the top 2. Suzuki versus Giulia and Nakano
Awesome.
versus Giulia. Both of them great matches, heated, passionate. Giulia does great at like conveying emotion and stuff. That's something that's pretty promotion wide for the top stars there, to be honest. The best workers there do a great job of it.
The Suzuki match was like really striking in that regard, though. Like, I agree with you, but the emotion on display in that match was powerful, man. I actually sent tweet out, like, I wanted some more context. I thought that match was unbelievably good. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's great. Like, I won't be able to do the justice for it, but like someone like an Anna. Or...
I was just gonna say this conversation makes me very sad because our very own Anna DeMarco, she could have been giving us an update on this, but the reason why Anna's not here, guys, is because Montel, Wrestle Purist, is late on 3 royalty checks. And so
we're doing this bit again.
Yeah, Montel Heyman has not paid Anna.
Monty Dangerously.
And Monty Dangerously has not paid Anna.
Oh, wow.
And unlike we have a couple Tommy Dreamers on the platform like myself who just love the game so much that we deal with it. You know what I mean? But people
Monty Dangerously.
Monty Dangerously, yeah. But unfortunately with Anna, she recognizes her worth and she's like, yeah, I'm not going to show up to this show until I get my payout. And so she's late on those, and so she's not going to cover Stardom on the platform until Monty pays up. So I think everybody in the super chats and everybody in the comments should harass Monty to get Anna back on the platform.
That or she's scared that you guys are going to yell at her like you guys do at every other podcast.
No. It's because of the money.
Oh my God.
Congratulations to Giulia. She's an absolute star. Every time I've seen her, everything about her performance is striking, and she understands pro wrestling. She's a performer. She's not a wrestler. And we need more performers in this business.
Yeah. The shoot headbutts were fucking insane. I will say that. Insane.
Yeah, she's crazy, bro. Like, she's one of those wrestlers that are just like, she's not the most like athletically gifted in that sense. Do you know what I mean? But like, she knows how to have these heated matches, and she kind of just wills these matches into being great by doing shit like shoot headbutts and getting kicked in the face and landing on a head.
I need more talents to take notes. You know, I don't know, man. I just feel like now in the businesses, and it's always been this way. There's just a divide of people who are beast and people who are not beast. That's gonna be the word I'm using. And
we need that to be a column on Wrestle Purist, man.
Yeah.
Like a definitive list.
Yes.
It gets updated once a month. People move across.
People who are beasts in the business are kind of insane. But they know how to will people into their matches in their own unique ways. They're not totally all the way there in the head, but they're beasts. You know, Cody Rhodes is beast. Him going through a flaming table wrestling Andrade on a weekly television show was so fucking stupid. But
we got too many people worried about concussions. Those shoot headbutts, guys. You only have one life. Might as well live it to the fullest.
Bandido's beast. This Wednesday, Wardlow versus Brian Cage. Is that confirmed?
That's confirmed, yeah.
That's a good matchup. I'm happy Brian Cage is on TV, and I'm also just simultaneously frustrated that like he's been off so long. Like what's for what reason? You know, I don't. Really get it.
He had a match with Ospreay earlier this year on Warrior Wrestling, which was
it was awesome,
tremendous. You know,
Brian Cage is good. He
can work, man. And someone who looks like him that can work, though, that is
it's valuable.
You know, it's valuable in any company.
I think fans,
on any continent.
I think fans get defensive and focus too much on what he isn't particularly great at as a justification for him not being on television. And it's like, you know, you can dwell on that, but at the end of the day, it's like you just said, you know, a guy who works as good as he does at that size is valuable to AEW.
For sure.
And being a guy who's going to give Wardlow a good match and lose, like, yeah, that's cool, So
I agree. I think part of it is, I think we're seeing this in a few different scenarios, but I think part of it is that when a certain segment of the fan base assumes someone's not going to be around for much longer,
they
kind of decide it sucks.
It's like the mob,
Yeah, it's pretty rough sometimes.
You start shooting your own family members and shit. Yeah.
I'm not, and by the way, I'm not a big fan. Like, I agree with everything you guys just said. Like, he's a big guy who can have good matches. That's there's something to be said for that. But
I'm not saying Brian Cage has to be freaking, the world champion and shit. Like,
everyone has a role to play, right?
Sure.
It's an easy way to get baby faces over as well.
I totally agree. Yeah.
But yeah, man. Anyway, Giulia won the 4-star GP in Stardom. Her ceiling is pretty much however far the push her. She pretty much has main event mania. With Roxanne.
Oh my god.
That's more corner booking right there. That is. Anyway,
I would have said all out main event, but we know that's not happening. So,
she's incredible. If you're not familiar with her, which we aren't to the level of some of the people who probably are watching now, the ones who are really deep into the Joshi, I'd definitely look her up. But last week was kind of her week, really. Even in a week where Bandido kind of like had the free agent market going crazy for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Moving on, let's talk about this SmackDown territory business.
I'm really
wait, real quick. What do you guys think happens with Bandido? The fact that he was offered a deal, he clearly is very grateful and happy that he got to wrestle on AEW television, but did not sign, and the World Wrestling Entertainment was looking for this man.
We don't know that.
We don't know that he didn't sign. He just hasn't been confirmed.
It just hasn't been confirmed publicly. Yes, this is true.
We're not going to get these all elite signs until he wins a big one, like our boy Roosh when he beat, or his big birthday.
Did you guys see those weird, scary, and vague tweets from Alvarez and Meltzer? Where
the super follow one.
The super follow one, and then Dave going, "It'll be an interesting next few weeks."
Well,
what are you fucking talking about?
Dave is fed pilled right now.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man. You gotta be kept. This Dave thing is gonna end, but he's gonna lash out, man. I'm telling you, he's a week away from logging on and tweeting "fuck Tony Khan." He's gonna lash out, man.
Joe's theory is that Dave's preparing for the elite to go to WWE, so he's just praising WWE.
Wait, who's Joe Holbert or Lanza?
Yes,
I'm working on this.
That's hilarious. Oh my god.
Yeah. So I think he's laying the groundwork thus far.
That's hilarious. Here's the deal with SmackDown, guys.
I think you can tell us if it's true or not.
So here's the deal with SmackDown. If you're somebody that still doesn't really particularly enjoy the show, that's totally fine and understandable. But in my opinion, it's on the trajectory of being something that I just am starting to enjoy pretty consistently now. And I was trying to identify why is it working for me, right? Because this week's show is a pretty simple show. Monty thought it was kind of ass, but I liked it. And then Brian Alvarez corroborated me and said he liked it as well, and so did Dave. So Monty's outruled 3-1 there. So you lose, I win. Here's the deal.
Brian, when you use Brian Alvarez, bro, what are we doing? Yeah.
Here's the deal. Here's why SmackDown works for me. It's because it's a territory wrestling show. Here's the thing.
One dying?
No. The reason why it's a territory show is because in territory booking philosophy is that the baby faces are the lifeblood of your brand, your show, your promotion. The priority is always to make the baby faces strong, to keep them protected, to let them shine, to let them stand tall, for them to protect each other, for them to run out and save each other. And so really, when you book, the philosophy of territory booking is one that I share and I really want more of in wrestling. And it's like the opposite of WWE TV from last year, where it was like all heat with no payoff and faces could never look good or triumph, right? On SmackDown now, the baby faces never lose clean. The baby faces come out to save each other. The baby faces team up in these really cool all-star pairing groupings, like just this week we had Drew McIntyre, Johnny Gargano, and Kevin Owens. And it's a very simplistic booking method, but it's very satisfying. Another reason why it's a territory show now is that the tag matches, as I've explained last week on the Monday pod, if you remember, Joe, the structure of the tag matches now are very much built around consistent babyface shine. The heat segments from the heels are not headlocks anymore. It's just working around the rules of a tag match to get advantages until the babyface tags the next guy who just kind of comes in as House of Fire. And that's a key term that didn't exist in Fed programming for a long time, House of Fire. Running in and just clearing house, taking care of business is something that's been consistent on SmackDown these days. And then the last thing, the reason why this is a territory show, is the Sheamus angle with Imperium, because that heel beatdown was a real heel beatdown, brother. Walter came in, ripped his shirt off, chopped him to oblivion, powerbombed him, and then walked off. And then Sheamus, the babyface, remained defiant. He told him, "Is that all you got?" And when the heels ran back in, the way Fabian Eichner was punching him, like, made me pump my fist. He punched him the way Jeff Jarrett punched him. It was like these really quick, short range, just like pounding. I was like, yeah, just the way it looked. Because people don't know how to punch, man. People don't know how to fucking punch. So the way they were just kind of ganging up on Sheamus there, just masterful. So yeah,
good angle.
Yeah. Really, just the whole crux of my point is just that the priority of the shows now is to protect your baby faces. And here's the thing, man. The reason why the territories protected the baby faces is because, the people who pay to see these shows, they need people to believe in. Because if they're paying to see a show, it's because the people that they are rooting for have to triumph. And it's why baby faces would rarely lose clean, because if they lose clean, it's like, okay, then this guy that I like, it just isn't that good then, which is why there's always an out of some kind. Like, oh no, this guy, he used the ropes, he used this thing, he used that thing. And it was like, well, my guy's going to get him next time, and there's flaws to that business model. But at the same time, again, it's like, I need people to believe in so that I can pay to watch the show. Because if you continually just put heat on the baby faces and then they accumulate too many clean losses, then I don't believe in him. If I don't believe in him, then who am I paying to see? Right. I'm not going to pay to watch a show full of losers. And WWE, actually, their product for a lot of recent years, it was a show full of losers outside of Roman Reigns, and you don't want to have losers. The heels, they can survive losing more than the baby faces when it comes to business, in my opinion. And so this increased philosophy now, specifically on SmackDown, that I'm noticing is just that it is a show that protects the baby faces, and ending the show this week with Gargano doing a tornado DDT to Otis, and KO does the stunner on Gable, and then Austin Theory eats a Claymore, and then they all run to the middle of the ring and celebrate and pose, and then Drew whips Theory and points at the camera and he's like, "I'm gonna get you, Cross, when I get my hands on you," and he's showing the leather strap. I was like, yeah, man, that's wrestling. That's fucking wrestling. Jerry Jarrett booked that, like that's what that is.
There were some nice parts,
There's so I'm in on what you're describing, but Monty appears. Monty, you're very dismissive right now. I don't like your body language. Tell me, what's the problem with this? What's the problem with this hypothesis?
It's not an accurate representation of the whole show.
Okay, can you give me your accurate representation, please, Monty?
Can I confess something before Monty says this? I don't watch these shows live, and I fast forward anything that remotely looks like it's going to be shite. So I don't watch. Well, listen. This is what I see.
You can't cheat us, man.
Yeah, I'm a cheater. Listen, I don't give a shit. Look, I don't watch the women's division on SmackDown, not because I don't like women's wrestling. I just don't like bad wrestling. And so, I see Shotzi, I see Aaliyah, I see Raquel, I see Ronda. I'm fast forwarding, brother. And so there you go.
Hey man, I do the same thing with Dynamite when I don't watch it live. I skip all the bad stuff and then I go on Cage Match and give it a 10 because that other show is great.
It's hilarious. Yes, this is about my experience.
Fair. Yeah. Monty, where do you stand on this business? You seem very angry about this SmackDown talk.
No, it's just thought he was putting over the show a bit too much. You know, It was a show that definitely had its ups and downs in it. You know,
what was the downs, Monty? Tell me about the downs.
Well, Hit Row defeated Las Lofarios in 3 minutes 21 seconds. Bailey defeated Shotzi in 6 minutes 42 seconds.
I'll send you the gifts.
Drew McIntyre defeats Austin Theory via DQ in 3 minutes 12 seconds. Even opener, man. Sami Zayn versus Solo Sikoa versus Madcap and
very solid match.
It was a match. It was a match. It was a match. So, bro, let's not. It was just a match. So. And even the main event was nice, and it achieved like all the things that Hanger just said then. But as a show overall, it's like a 6 out of 10.
I will say, I'm encouraged by those match times, though, Monty. They sounded. That was very exciting.
I was going to say
6. You know,
I was going to say, Joe, did you notice those match times? I really made a tweet thread. Yes, wrong. Here's the thing.
wrong?
I'm working on it. SmackDown does not have the burden of we have to artificially elongate every match on the show to fill 3 hours of TV. You know, a lot of Raw matches, you could feel that like there are unnatural periods in the match where like this doesn't even need to be there, and either it starts slow and gets good after the the second or third commercial break, or it starts off hot and then kind of just like slow. It just kind of like dies a little bit, right? And Brian Cage versus Wardlow is wrestling back, boys. That's gonna be awesome, Chris. You are a Brian Cage hater, and I'm going to expose your old tweets. I never folded. I think the Machine is very talented. I never folded. I never folded. That match is gonna be good, and I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, Joe. Those varying match times are great because matches just end when they need to end.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I've been talking about it a lot.
No, that isn't. Don't get excited. Don't get excited by the short matches.
Let me get excited.
It wasn't those ones. It wasn't those ones.
Last week's Raw.
Yeah.
I don't care what Dave or Cage Match thought of it. There were 5 matches that went past 18 minutes. I am not watching it. I refuse. I'm not doing it anymore. I've had enough. 3 minutes, 6 minutes. Give me a 12-minute main event. Well, hold on a second. Now we're talking about some wrestling too. Oh my God, man, he's got another mask on.
Rey Mysterio. Real quickly, did any of you guys see Rampage?
I saw the Jamie match and the main event.
And of course, I saw a Roosh match.
What do you guys think of this Andrade situation where we're out of nowhere, arbitrarily, in a random pre-tape backstage on a Rampage episode? This man 10 is like, yeah, if I beat you, you're out of AEW.
I think it's someone's doing a bit, and I don't know who.
I think Tony's popping himself with all of the contract talk and tampering and
probably because to me it was just so preposterous how contrived this setup was, because it's like if I'm to believe the situation and put it all out in order, Andrade trolls a little bit on Twitter. He likes some dubious, slanderous tweets. People think that he wants to leave AEW. And then out of nowhere, we go super on the nose with it. And Jose is tweeting like, regardless of what you decide, wherever you go, I thank you for our friendship. And Andrade is out here just tweeting like free El Idolo. And now out of nowhere, 10 wants him out of AEW. And I'm to believe that Andrade's AEW run is going to end at the hands of 10 on a Rampage episode.
I love the precedent that, like, in this feud of all feuds, he's like, listen, man, I'll beat you, you're going to leave.
That's what I'm saying. Like, those are pretty humongous stakes. And you want me to believe them, though, in a match with 10 on Rampage. Like, if this was a pay-per-view stip in a singles match with Hangman and Andrade at Full Gear, I might be able to actually believe it a little bit and say, well, maybe... But on the heels of Dave Meltzer literally putting out there that Tony Khan is granting no releases, nobody's getting out of their deals. You want me to believe that Andrade is going to lose and leave AEW here? I don't buy it. Plus, also, it doesn't make any sense if Andrade tries to win this match, because the whole work is allegedly that he wants to leave. So if you want to leave, you should lay down.
That's always the problem with when you get so deep in the work shoot stuff. It always falls apart. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. Yeah.
Yeah, when he said that, I said, "Man, who did 10 ever beat? You know, like who's
Literally."
Yeah.
He couldn't even handle.
My
He couldn't
favorite 10
even.
matches when he got squashed by Moxley.
Yes.
Yeah, he can't even handle Moxley. Was he?
He got like no offense.
I don't want to be dismissive, but like that, him just like circling back onto the TV show has been kind of crazy for me. I don't really understand who asked for that, but you know.
Wait, who 10?
Yeah, like what? Like of all the guys we asked for more of, did it, like I'm not even trying to be a dick about this, but did anyone ask for 10?
The
Seriously.
Fed came
I gave up trying to understand Tony Khan's roster rotation.
I have a question for everybody here and everybody in the chats. This is a genuine question. I'm not trying to seem like a jerk. I'm not trying to seem snarky. It's just a genuine question. So Andrade dissolves the AFO. Sorry, Matt Hardy was running the HFO. Andrade links up with him and they make the AHFO. Then Matt Hardy sold the remaining assets to Andrade and it became the AFO. And then Andrade dissolves the AFO at whatever pay-per-view that Roosh debuted at, either Forbidden Door or Double or Nothing. But he dissolved the group. It was the end of the group. He fired them. He got rid of them. And now in recent weeks, Private Party and Butcher and Blade are just working for Andrade again.
They tried to throw him out the Battle Royal like a week ago.
Can someone tell me when did the AFO reunite?
No one can tell you that because that was not a thing that happened on the TV show.
So then this is just a flat out plot hole, then, right? Like
yes, more than a hole, bro.
Plot hole. Like it's a gaping massive plot hole.
Yeah, it's just so Tony Khan can pop himself, man. Someone's doing a beat, bro.
Andrade teamed up with Rouge. He tagged with Dragon Lee one week. In the final, literally 1 millisecond of a Dynamite, they're seen off camera stomping Dragon Lee out. I swear to God, that's how it happened. They were stomping Dragon Lee out like in the last millisecond of a Dynamite. We have no explanation the next week about what that was about. Why did they stomp out Dragon Lee? No explanation. And then a week later, he's paying Private Party to do things again.
The thing that's amazing about this is I should be surprised, but that is in line with Andrade's whole run. It's so confusing. It's so strange. And the fact that he came in and was exclusively a guy in backstage pre-tapes rather than going out there and wrestling, I'll never understand it. I assume there's a story beyond this with Andrade. That his year in AEW, or he's, 16 months in AEW, is puzzling. How many singles matches Andrade had in the promotion?
I think it's like 7.
7? He's been there for 16 fucking months, man. It's crazy.
Well, I feel like every time Andrade goes out there and wrestles in AEW, he gets hurt. And he's always out for TV for a bit. Because I know that's the last thing is.
I think that may be a part of this story that will become a thing in the coming. I think that may be a belief of someone internally too, that he always seems to be hurt. And we'll see.
Two things. So when Andrade fired the AFO, he literally told them, like, I'm firing you because you guys stink at your jobs.
Yeah.
And you don't get the job done, right? And I remember when I saw a segment of him like hiring Private Party, I said, why is he doing this? And they're like, someone said to me, like, well, because he needs the backup, he needs the help. And I'm like, so why would he enlist and pay his money to people that he himself said were incompetent and bad at their jobs?
Right.
I think Andrade, his run has been like Codyverse level incoherent.
Yeah.
Regarding the injuries, right? Brian Alvarez made a good point last week on Observer Live. He said AEW is very quiet when it comes to who's hurt, who's out, and how long are they out. And if you want to play it that way, that's fine. But then you have to accept fans kind of saying, like, because there's times where like things just don't make any sense, and people are like, wow, the booking sucks here. When really it's like, oh no, this guy's he's injured, right? Yeah. And it's like, but I think there maybe should be at least a little bit more what's the word I want to use?
Transparency
with that stuff, because obviously fans would be a trillion times more forgiving if like they came out and said, oh no, Andrade's been nursing an elbow thing or something, or whatever the hell it is,
Yeah.
But without that, some of this stuff just doesn't make any sense, like when it comes to
I love Andrade as a wrestler.
Yeah.
I don't know him, obviously, and I sincerely, wherever he goes, I'll try to watch that dude wrestle. I think he's fabulous. I do get the sense he may be slightly more it may be a more complex challenge booking him than it looks from the outside looking in. That makes sense?
Perhaps.
I'm not a scoopster. I would say as an educated guess on the situation. I think it's slightly complex. What I would say. I hope everything works out for him. I can just wherever it is, I hope I see him wrestle because it feels like he hardly ever gets a chance to go there and just do his thing, right? And
It's pretty crazy.
That's what he's best at, man. If you want to get Andrade really over, he should go out there and fucking wrestle. He's great at it. But I don't know. He said he's a really strange couple of years, honestly. So
for sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Monty, Daniel Cormier is appearing on Raw tonight.
I know. I saw the tweet. I was going to get to it before we finish.
Oh, really? Do you think Brock Lesnar does something with DC at the event leading to the Saudi match?
What do you want to bring up bad memories for him?
The Brock DC angle at UFC was awesome.
That ruled, yeah.
When he said DC, I'm coming for you, motherfucker. I was so excited. I literally wanted that was right before Brock was facing Roman at the New Orleans Mania. I was so hyped for Brock to leave WWE and just go back fully in the UFC and just fight DC. Like I was so ready for it. I was like, this is way more beast than pro wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember being at the New Orleans Mania when everyone assumed it was a year-long build for Roman to win. Brock just beat him.
Yeah, that show fucking the second half of that show was dire. Like,
oh yeah, I've told that a few times. That was quite an experience.
Yeah, the IC three-way was good. Asuka Charlotte was really good. The Ronda match was awesome. And like up to that point, I was like, "Oh, this is a good event." And then like the Nakamura Styles match, and then the Roman Brock match, just absolutely dire stuff. Yeah.
I've told it before, but I don't ever know on Wrestle Purists. But I had like 1% battery left on my phone, and I went on after Alexa and Nia, and Voice of Wrestling tweeted, "This show has been like really strong, and what's left is Shinsuke and AJ, Braun's surprise partner." and Roman and Brock, and it was like, so in theory, this is penciled in to be like an all-timer. And I remember thinking, well, fuck, I've done all right here. I can put my phone off, put him in, and next thing I knew, AJ Shinsuke
it was consecutive misses, like to just end the show. Like it was incredible. Like how that
really was. The Roman Brock thing in person was like one of the weirdest wrestling experiences because like everyone around you is not watching and they're actively like just doing other things, and you're in a fucking wrestling show. Like it's weird. It was
perplexing to watch because
yeah,
I gotta admit this. Ashutos, our very own Ashutos, pointed this out. So. Because me and him have been talking about how like Randy Orton and Cena have negative chemistry. Right. He was saying how like despite the fact that Roman and Brock have missed so much, they don't have negative chemistry. They have pretty damn good chemistry, right? And if you actually go back, work-wise, the match of Brock and Roman at that Mania was totally fucking fine. The problem was people just didn't want to see the match. Exactly. And so the match is bad just off that because they're literally it's being protested. You know.
I mean, their first Mania match is a great example. There's real chemistry. That match is great, you know. So absolutely, I agree, 100%. That was a strange time.
Yeah, DC is going to be special guest referee for Rollins versus Riddle in the fight pit.
You know what's going to happen, Monty? Riddle is going to beat Shamrock. Riddle's going to beat Rollins. Rollins is going to be mad and protest the result. He's going to yell at DC over the result. And then he's going to push DC, and then DC's going to look at the crowd, and the crowd's going to, egg it on. And he's going to turn around and suplex Seth Rollins, and it's going to be awesome.
Seth Rollins in a fight pit match sounds insane. I'm not sure how I feel about this.
He has no shoot style background of any kind.
Yeah,
I hope bro just marks the floor with him.
I still want to see him wearing.
Keep Inoki alive.
I want to see him wearing UFC shorts.
Yeah, shooter shorts, wrist tag.
Comes out and throws some low kicks.
Yeah.
Wait, where's the Extreme Rules at?
Philadelphia.
He's gonna come out looking like Rocky.
Oh my god. He does tend to wear really quirky pay-per-view outfits.
Yeah, it won't be Rocky though. It'll be like some fucking comic book or some shit.
Oh my god.
We got anything else? Anything else we want to talk about before we get out of here?
Real quick, Monty, what do you make of this Extreme Rules card? Because I think it's shaping up to be pretty damn good, actually. I was tempering myself on the excitement I was seeing on social media for the card, but then Triple H he baited me because he added Imperium versus the Brawling Brutes in a 3-on-3 Irish Donnybrook match, which is basically just 3-on-3 no DQ tornado tag. And I was like, "Fuck it, I'm in."
So I'm gonna flow through this card real quick for you.
Sure.
Give a comment on each one.
Yeah.
Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey could be intriguing for the wrong reason.
You gotta say the stipulation.
Extreme Rules. That's what I
Yes.
said.
Yes.
Extreme Rules. Ronda versus Liv. Intriguing. Bianca versus Bailey. That could be good. Ladder match.
Not sure I love putting Bailey in a ladder match at this point, but
scary.
Yeah, it could be good. Well, it's two good workers,
Absolutely.
Matt Riddle versus Seth Rollins. The idea of Seth in a fight pit is what we just
Hilarious.
said. Drew McIntyre versus Karrion Kross is like
in a strap match.
It's not going to be Karrion Kross versus Drew McIntyre in a strap match. It's like the territory stuff that you kind of forget about,
I that's hilarious. I think Cross's legacy is on the line here.
I almost threw up on the air when I found out about that match.
Bro, Edge versus Finn Balor in an I Quit match might genuinely be like the worst match in the history of the business.
No. I've talked myself into it, and I think that this is going to be one of the best matches of Edge's career. And wow. my theory is because Edge saved himself this year by turning babyface, because he was literally trending down an abysmal path, like a really, really bad path where like I didn't want to watch him ever again. But if you've seen him, Monty, like his babyface run-ins are very charged up and fired up.
He's gonna go really long, and
that match is gonna be really fucking long, man.
You think I feel like he's gonna go old man, fired up babyface. They're gonna have heated submissions.
Hopefully.
I'll tell you what. Really low, really high ceiling for that match, in my opinion, but really low floor as well, depending on the direction taken. Yeah. It could be anywhere from like literally 2 to like 4.25 stars.
It also, the placement on that is important, because that needs a fresh crowd. For Edge to do what he wants to do, which is have like a big drama show, he's gonna need the people to be awake.
Edge wants to go 54 minutes, bro.
Well,
to be fair to him, I actually thought going in that the Rollins feud was gonna be like gonna have bad matches. I actually thought like Rollins Edge was gonna be bad, and then it wasn't. So yeah. What's the next match, Monty?
The last match was the 6-man that you mentioned, the good old fashioned Donnybrook, Brawling Brutes versus Imperium. That'll obviously be good,
4.5.
But yeah, that's the Extreme Rules card. I think overall my excitement for it isn't crazy, to be honest. But
the White Rabbit will be revealed on the show as well. So
what's the main event of this show, guys?
I was told it's either the women's ladder match or Edge's match, because there's a decent chance this is Edge's last match of the year, unless he changes his mind about getting a Saudi check.
Oh my God.
Yes.
How do you think that White Rabbit's going to be exposed? Or I mean, not exposed, but like
revealed.
Revealed.
I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah, I just don't know. I
hope Bray Wyatt comes out in a white suit.
In a white suit.
In a white suit.
He just comes out at the start of the show.
Oh my God.
He's a new announcer.
I genuinely have no clue how it's going to be introduced. I don't know if he's going to wear I don't know if he's going to wear a horror rabbit mask or some shit. I have no fucking clue.
Let's get out of here.
Of course, that door comes out.
Raw's about to start in about 2 minutes, if that's your kind of thing. I'll be watching it.
I kind of want to just continue watching the 97 G1. I can't lie.
Yeah, do what you gotta do, people.
Mike covered on WrestleFears.
Yeah, do what you gotta do. I need to send you the Inoki piece, because basically Jamie's wrote like a base for like yourself, Manny, Joe, Ash, Parker, whoever else. So everyone can just kind of chip in a little bit. It'll be like our little Wrestle Purist collective tribute extravaganza thing.
I kind of want Parker to just have a really blunt one sentence, like he was really bad and stupid, like and that's just his exit.
That's it wouldn't be
Hey, Dave Meltzer, I'm upset about your war piece on Observer piece about Inoki. It was only 20 minutes. I was expecting like a 2-hour think piece, but
he'll get there. I think I'll notice that as well, to be honest. The Observer Radio, the day after, I think it was literally like it was just one of those where it was just he didn't really have thought out what he was going to say because it happened.
He couldn't digest it.
Not just that though, but Gareth was just kind of like, so yeah, AEW, the ticket sales. It was like, damn, bro, he just like moved out mad quick. Yeah.
But yeah, man. Let's get out of here. Thanks for watching. As always, please like and subscribe. Drop a comment if you as soon as this is finished uploading. And
let's go Rams.
Yeah, man. We'll be back on Thursday. We'll be back on Thursday for the Backward Pangman side of Wrestle Purist podcasting. Well, yeah. Thanks again, everyone.
Thanks, guys.